Chapter 17. Salvation. Ghalen only felt despair as a giant man approached. It seemed they would join Pyre's fate soon enough. He saw Lily crumble into a heap, screaming in pain. Her eyes had gone bright blue, just like the risen warriors of the Dark Masters, and like she had at the gate. But they could not help her now. His foolish gamble was over, and he had lost. He straightened his back. As his hand clutched the dull blade, he stared at his enemy.
"Come then,"
he said through gritted teeth. Haldor had made his way beside him.
"It seems this is as far as we go,"
he said with a grim face.
"It appears so. Let's give them a show."
Haldor only nodded in reply and held the grip of his axe tighter. A few more seconds and it would all be over. The judge lifted his axe high, casting its shadow over Ghalen. "Enough!" a voice called out, cutting through the noise of the crowd. "You have protected me long enough." The voice was familiar, yet transformed, firm and commanding, devoid of uncertainty. Ghalen whipped his head around and gasped. Lily was standing tall, her eyes glowing like molten gold in the sunlight. She looked down at her hands, which clasped a small hammer. "Forgive me for not remembering sooner," she said softly. Then, rising to her full height with a workman's hammer in hand, she strode purposely toward the gladiator. "You saved them, tiny creature." The giant of a man laughed at her. Lily picked up speed. Using a fallen tree as a launch pad, she propelled herself into the air. The judge lifted his shield. He could not expect a blow harder than a raindrop to hit his shield. But as she swung the hammer, a dazzling image of a mighty warhammer encased it in light, blinding the spectators, forcing Ghalen to squint to see her attack. When she struck, a visible shockwave erupted from the point of impact. The gladiator's arm buckled, his screams echoing through the arena. The judge dropped his axe, clutching his shattered arm. Lily seized his weapon, ending him with a decisive beheading. The crowd was swallowed by a stunned silence. There stood a small elf, frowning down at the body of the judge. Equally astonished, Ghalen turned to her. He thought he could see the sun itself paint angelic wings around her. Her voice sliced through the quiet of the arena. "We have passed your trial. By your own laws, we have earned our lives. Release us, or invite your god's wrath." Her eyes reverted back to their normal green as she tossed the bloodied axe in the sand. Whispers rippled through the crowd until the chieftain rose once more, striking his axe hilt against the ground. The abrupt sound silenced the chatter. "You've earned lives," he conceded, eyes locked on Lily. "Bring them to me. I will speak to Stonelanders." He turned and exited his seat of judgment, leaving the once roaring arena cloaked in stunned silence. In a hushed procession, the group was escorted from the arena by armed guards. Men clothed in garments woven with plant fibers tended to them, dressing their wounds, splinting Haldor's leg and administering a foul-tasting brew to ease their pain. Once treated, they were led through the village towards the leader's dwelling. It was a modest hut, its entrance flanked by an ominous array of skulls. A red banner emblazoned with a decaying black tree hung above the doorway, casting an eerie shadow. At the threshold, the guards left them, pivoting sharply on their heels and departing without a backward glance. Inside, the leader was hunched over a table, his focus fixed on something unseen. Without looking up, he commanded in a low voice. "Come, come." Stepping inside, there was nobody there besides the chieftain.
"You dare face us unguarded?"
Ghalen asked. He clenched his fist, finally face to face with the leader of those who had caused him so much pain. He burst.
"Why, Arania? What did we ever do to provoke you?"
The leader turned to face them, standing to his full height that towered 2 heads above Haldor. "Unguarded. You kill me with bare hands, tiny one," he scoffed, a cruel smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Only fear elf," he grunted, fixing Lily with a piercing stare. "I speak to her." Ghalen couldn't believe his ears when Lily addressed the chieftain in his own language. Her lips moved, forming words in the guttural tongue that scraped against Galen's ears. The leader's scowl deepened with a surprised frown, then smoothed out entirely as he listened intently. After a lengthy reply from the chieftain, Ghalen interrupted, his frustration tinged with confusion.
What are you asking him?
I asked how his people escaped the corruption, Lily replied, and what he intends to do with us.
And what does he intend to do with us?
Ghalen pressed. He said we were found trespassing on sacred land. Their laws, their faith, dictate that they must test our worth or kill us in the attempt. But we are not prisoners of war. His people have shut themselves off from the conflict. That's also why they show no signs of corruption. Kakor began speaking again, his voice unexpectedly soft. Ghalen clenched his fists, frustration and helplessness rising within him as the exchange unfolded. Without understanding the words, he was left to study Lily's expressions for any clue about their fate. As the discussion seemed to reach its conclusion, Ghalen teetered on the edge of interrupting. Lily turned to him, her expression grave. He has shared his fears with me, she began, that this war was brought about by forces beyond his understanding. She paused. He said it began the moment the gate was open, and their god manifested and stepped through. At her side, he saw me. He asked why such a being of light would choose to bring them gifts of death and chaos, and what purpose could justify leading them into such suffering. Ghalen watched her closely, noting the calm with which she carried herself. This god they revere and fear is no such thing, Lily explained, her tone somber and certain. It is a creation of Ravemark, an elven mage adept in illusions. He has manipulated their faith for his own aims, though his ultimate goal remains unclear to me. She cleared her throat. Kakor was there when I was stabbed. He wanted to know who I am, and how I could survive being struck by the blade of death from which no other return. I told him what I'll tell you. Beyond the Great Gate, in my home, the Sunwoods, magic like this is forbidden. An ancient enemy of ours used these powers to enslave humans, but never against my people. As for the intricate workings of this magic, I cannot say. She lifted her chin, eyes blazing with newfound clarity. I remember now. Lytheria Dawnbreaker. That was my name, commander of the Elven Legion in the Sunwoods.